Hello everyone, this is Gráinne Thornbury here working with Seamus Kavanagh in the IIFA office. You're all very welcome here today for our road transport webinar, Module 5. No matter what mode of transport you use, whether it is via sea, air or rail, road transport is the vital link in the supply chain, as ultimately it is the transportation via road that will get the goods where they need to be. Topics covered: IORU, International Road Union, Tír Carné, CMR, also covering consignment notes, limits of liability and claims, IORHA, carrier's liability, time limit for claims, road haulage operators licenses, both national and international, transport managers CPC, drivers CPC, two different qualifications, EU permitted driving hours, some examples and the tachograph, articulated curtain sider, dimensions, also including loading capacity, maximum vehicle height, EU and Ireland, loading metre, the European and standard pallets, sample shipment charges based on per loading metre, and to finish up with safety and security. The IORU, International Road Union. The IORU was founded in Geneva in 1948. It represents the entire road transport industry worldwide through its national associations. The IORHA is a member of the IORU and represents Ireland. The IORU speaks for the operators of coaches, taxis and trucks. It strives to improve working conditions for all drivers. Acts as the industry's advocate to all international bodies that make decisions affecting road transport. Could be the United Nations, business organisations, the World Bank, customs authorities, to mention a few. Strives to improve safety, security for drivers, passengers and goods. Strives that vehicles are clean, safe, fuel efficient, that they have less impact on the environment, making roads safer and less congested. Works for harmonisation of procedures affecting road transport, strives to lift barriers to international transport and trade, operates the Tír Carné. This is a customs procedure, allows trucks to transit countries with the minimum of formalities at border crossings. The Tír Carné. This is a global multimodal secure customs transit system operated by the IORU, the International Road Union. Trucks with goods transit under bond the 70 countries that have ratified the United Nations Tír Convention with the minimum of formalities at the various countries' borders. After inspection by customs, trucks are sealed at departure by customs, unsealed at destination by customs, thus ensuring full security and traceability. Reports have indicated that the Tír Carné has cut transport time by 40% and costs by 30% due to the significant reduction in delays at borders. The CMR Convention is the International Convention on the Carriage of Goods by Road. It sets out the conditions of carriage and the liabilities of the carrier. It was signed in Geneva in 1956 and incorporated into Irish law by the International Carriage of Goods by Roads Act of 1990. The CMR Convention applies to the international carriage of goods by road in vehicles for hire or reward. This is when you are paid for carrying someone else's goods over the territories of two different countries, of which at least one is a contracting party to the CMR Convention. The CMR Convention does not apply to the movement of human remains, furniture removal, own account operations. This would be the carriage of your own goods in your own vehicles, driven by yourself or your employees, or carriage under the terms of any international postal convention. The CMR International Consignment Note is the main document for international road transport. It can be completed by the shipper or the carrier, but the shipper customer is ultimately responsible for the form's accuracy. It can be signed by the shipper or the carrier, whoever completes it. It accompanies the goods and is signed upon delivery by the consignee or the receiver of the goods. Each successive carrier signs and dates receipt of the goods, condition on the CMR. There would be a note on the CMR, for example, if there was any damage to any of the cartons. It is evidence of the making of the contract of the carriage. It is the conditions of the carriage. It acts as a receipt of the goods by the courier, and it is not a document of title as a bill of lading would be. The limits of liability under the CMR Convention shall not exceed 8.33 SDRs per kilo based on the gross weight. The carrier is liable for the total or partial loss of the goods and for damage occurring between the time he takes over the goods and the time of delivery, as well as any delay in delivery. Under Article 19, delay shall be said to occur when the goods have not been delivered within the agreed time limit or within a reasonable time. The carrier is relieved of liability if damage is caused by wrongful act or neglect of the claimant, by the instructions of the claimant, by inherent vice of the goods, through circumstances outside the control of the carrier, bad loading or unloading by the sender or the consignee. Also could be the use of defective packing or inherent weakness and proneness to damage of the goods themselves. Claims under the CMR Convention in relation to delivery, Article 30, Part 2. In the case of loss or damage which is not apparent at the time of taking delivery, the consignee must notify the carrier within 7 days in writing of such loss, damage. Claim for delay under Article 30, Part 3. No compensation will be payable for delay unless written claim has been sent to the carrier within 21 days from the time the goods were placed at the disposal of the consignee. And time limit for action under Article 32. The period of limitation for an action, which is bringing a legal case, arising out of carriage under this convention is 1 year. However, the limitation can be extended to 3 years in the case of willful misconduct on the carrier's part. The Irish Road Haulage Association was established in 1973. It represents the interests of the licensed road transport industry in Ireland on a national and international level. It represents Ireland in the IRU, which is the worldwide advocate for the road transport industry, promotes professionalism, excellence and safety in road transport. IRHA members operate under road haulage operator licences. These are issued by the Department of Transport, Tourism and Sport. IRHA members operate under the trading conditions of the Irish Road Haulage Association Limited 2008 Conditions of Carriage. The IRHA also offers CPC training courses, Certificate of Professional Competence for bus and truck drivers. It also offers members insurance schemes. There are 9 regional branches that meet regularly to discuss matters of local, national and international interests. The carrier's liability for national haulage. The Irish Road Haulage Association Limited 2008 conditions of carriage are used by the members of that association. They cover transportation by road within and between the Republic of Ireland and the UK and Northern Ireland. The limits of liability is €1,800 per tonne on the gross weight of the goods actually lost, misdelivered or damaged. Now, the trading conditions need to be incorporated into the contract of carriage for them to apply. This can be done verbally, but ideally it should be done in writing and an acknowledgement received. Time limit for claims. Now, loss from a package or an unpacked consignment or damage or delay, notification must be given in writing to be within 3 days and claim within 14 days after the termination of transit. For total loss or non-delivery of the whole consignment or of any separate package, notification has to be given in writing within 28 days and a claim made within 42 days of the commencement of transit. So transit starts when the consignment is handed to the carrier and ends when the goods are tendered at the usual place of delivery at the consignee's address within the customary cartage hours of the district. Liability for loss or damage. Clause 11 sets out the situations where the carrier will not accept responsibility for loss, misdelivery or damage to the goods if he can prove that such events have arisen from an act of God, war or invasion, seizure under legal process, an act or omission of the trader, natural deterioration of the goods, insufficient packing, marking, labelling or addressing, if there are riots, civil commotions, strikes or lockouts, if there is fraud on the part of the customer. So the status of the carrier under the IRHA conditions of carriage. So the question is the IRHA member a common carrier? And the answer is no. Under clause number 2 of the conditions of carriage, the status of carrier is not a common carrier. A common carrier is the legal term for a person or company that offers services for the carriage of goods and is required by law to accept all cargoes offered, accept dangerous goods, and to make a reasonable charge for their carriage. A road haulage operator's licence is required if you are carrying goods for hire or reward in vehicles over 3.5 metric tonnes unladen weight. Hire or reward means when you are paid for carrying someone else's goods. Licences are issued by the Minister for Transport, Tourism and Sport under Section 2 of the Road Traffic and Transport Act 2006, and the licence is valid for 5 years. Licence is not required if you only do own account work. Own account meaning carriage of your own goods in your own vehicles driven by yourself or your employees. Requirements to obtain a road haulage operator's licence. You must have an establishment in the state. Be of good repute. When applying for a licence, a Garda vetting form must be completed and returned with the application. Satisfy professional competence. The transport manager must have CPC, which is a Certificate of Professional Competence in Road Haulage. Be of appropriate financial standing. A copy of an accountant's report must be submitted with application. Also, you have to have a current tax clearance certificate issued by the Revenue Commissioners. A National Road Haulage Operator's Licence permits one to operate a haulage business within the state only. On application, a standing fee of €69.84 applies, plus a fee of €95.23 for every vehicle to be authorised on the licence. Once the licence has been granted, it is valid for 5 years. A National Certificate of Professional Competence, CPC, is required by the Transport Manager, and full details are available from the Department of Transport, Tourism and Sport. An International Road Haulage Operator's Licence permits one to operate a haulage business in Ireland, Northern Ireland, Britain, and both within and between all the member states of the European Union. Currently there are 28 European Union member states. A community authorisation is also issued at the same time. A certified copy of the community licence is issued for each individual truck. In order to obtain an International Road Haulage Operator's Licence and community authorisation, the Transport Manager must have an International Certificate of Professional Competence in Road Haulage. The International Road Haulage Operator's Licence is valid for 5 years. A Transport Manager's Certificate of Professional Competence in Road Haulage Operations is required when applying for a Road Haulage Operator's Licence. A Transport Manager is a person who holds an appropriate CPC, is of good repute and over 18 years of age, of good repute, has been Garda vetted, is designated by notice in writing to the Minister. The Transport Manager's name will be published on the Department of Transport, Tourism and Sports website. The role of the Transport Manager is to continuously and effectively manage the national/international transport operations of the haulage business. Transport Manager's CPC courses are run by the Chartered Institute for Logistics and Transport of Ireland. A driver's CPC is a Certificate of Professional Competence for bus and truck drivers. The legal basis for the driver's CPC programme is EU Directive 2003, which was transposed into Irish law in 2008. It is a legal requirement that all new bus and truck drivers complete and pass the CPC exam to gain their driver CPC qualification. A compulsory retraining course must be undertaken every year to maintain standards. Drivers have to do 35 hours during a 5-year period. This is broken up into a block of 7 hours per year. The driver's CPC focuses on health, safety, eco-driving and road safety. The Road Safety Authority is responsible for the driver CPC. The legislation is enforced by An Garda Síochána and RSA transport officers. There are penalties for driving without a valid driver CPC. You can incur a fine for up to €2,000. Fake documentation will incur a fine of up to €5,000. Failure to produce a valid driver CPC will incur a fine of up to €2,000. And employers allowing a third party who does not have a valid driver CPC to drive a relevant vehicle can have a fine of up to €5,000. EU Regulation number 3820/85 controls the number of hours drivers can drive their vehicles and clearly sets out the rest periods required daily and fortnightly. Maximum time of driving without a break is 4.5 hours. After 4.5 hours, a break of at least 45 minutes must be taken. The daily driving period must not exceed 9 hours, but it can be extended twice in 1 week to 10 hours. At least 11 consecutive hours of rest is required in each period of 24 hours. This can be reduced to 9 consecutive hours 3 times in any 1 week. A weekly rest period must be taken after 6 days of driving. So must not exceed 56 hours over 6 days. So that could be 4 days of driving at 9 hours a day and 2 days at 10 hours. This would equate to 56 hours. And total period of driving in a fortnight must not exceed 90 hours. Now, examples of daily driving. We're looking at the extended driving where the driver can drive 10 hours twice weekly maximum. So we'd start off driving for 2 hours, then take a break of 45 minutes, driving for 4.5 hours and a break for 45 minutes, and then driving for 3.5 hours. This gives total driving time of 10 hours. If we look further on down, we look at the 9 hours driving, and this can be done 4 times weekly. So driving for 1 hour, take a break, 45 minutes. Driving 4.5 hours, then take a break, 45 minutes. And driving 3.5 hours. So this gives total driving hours of 9 hours. So the total, that would give a total of 56 hours in the week. That would be 2 of the extended driving hours, that would be 20 hours, and 4 of the 9 hours, that's 36 hours, so it gives us a total of 56 hours. A tachograph is required in vehicles over 3,500 kilos maximum gross weight. Under Irish law, this means 1.5 tonnes unladen weight. A tachograph has to be properly calibrated and sealed at an approved workshop and must be used at all times by the driver. It is used to monitor and record all the activities undertaken by the driver at all times, be it driving time, breaks, rest periods, other work. All vehicles which have been registered after the 1st of May 2006 must be fitted with a digital tachograph. This must be fully recalibrated every 2 years or after any repairs to the device, or if the vehicle registration number has been changed. An analogue tachograph, which is still in use by older vehicles, must be checked every 2 years and calibrated every 6 years. Now, the digital tachograph uses a driver card. This card is unique to the individual driver and is valid for 5 years. It can store information for 28 days and can only be used by the driver authorised to use it. The driver card must be made available to enforcement officers on request. Looking at an example here of an articulated standard curtain sider, we see the internal loading length is 13.6 metres, the maximum loading width is 2.5 metres, and the maximum loading height is 2.6 metres. And loading, unloading takes place through the back doors and both sides. The maximum cargo weight for this particular one is 24,000 kilos, and the total number of Euro pallets that can be loaded here would be 33 pallets on the floor. The Euro pallets are size 120 by 80 centimetres. A standard pallet is a size of 120 by 100 centimetres, and the total number of standard pallets will be 26 pallets. The maximum height for vehicles and trailers in most EU countries, except the UK, is 4 metres. The UK currently has no legal height limit, and most of its road network can accommodate lorries up to 4.9 metres high. The maximum height for vehicles and trailers in Ireland is 4.65 metres, legally effective from the 1st November 2013. Vehicles higher than 4.65 metres cannot use the Jack Lynch Tunnel in Cork, Dublin Port or Limerick tunnels, and therefore must be diverted through urban areas. So that's why the legal limit is 4.65 metres in Ireland. A loading metre is the standard unit of measurement for transport by truck. One loading metre is 1 metre of loading space of a truck's length and the width and the corresponding height. It is used as a calculation unit for goods that cannot be stacked, compensating for any lost volume. One loading metre can equate to approximately 1,600 kilos. That's based on 13.6 metre trailer, maximum cargo load of 24,000 kilos. So if you divide the maximum cargo load of 24,000 kilos by the trailer length, 13.6 metres, and this gives you approximately 1760 kilos. €1 pallet is 120 centimetres by 80 centimetres, and this equates to 0.4 loading metres. €3 pallets will fit side by side, taking up 1.2 metres of space. One standard pallet, 120 centimetres by 100 centimetres, equates to 0.5 loading metres. Two standard pallets will fit side by side, taking up 1 metre of space. Here we're looking at a rough sketch of a 13.6 metre trailer, and we're looking at a Euro pallet which is 80 centimetres by 120 centimetres, and a standard pallet which is 100 centimetres by 120 centimetres. So if we look up at A on the sketch of the trailer, we see this equates to 1 loading metre. It's taking up the full width and the height of the truck and 1 metre in the length. If we look at B, we're looking at €3 pallets, and 3 of them fit side by side, 80 centimetres in the width and 120 centimetres in the length. So those €3 pallets take up 1.2 loading metres. And then if we look at the 2 standard pallets, and we can see they fit side by side, 120 centimetres in the width each, and in the length it takes up 100 centimetres. So 2 standard pallets side by side takes up 1 loading metre. So a loading metre is equivalent to 1750 kilos based on 13.6 metre trailer with a maximum payload of 24,000 kilos. We're looking here now at an example of charging out a shipment. We have €9 pallets at 195 kilos each, total weight of 1755 kilos, and 2 standard pallets at 220 kilos each, a total gross weight of 440 kilos. The pallets cannot be double stacked. The shipment is from collected Dublin to delivered Lille, code 59 in France. Now €9 pallets equate to 3.6 loading metres. 2 standard pallets equate to 1 loading metre. So we have a total of 4.6 loading metres. The rate at cost is €220 per loading metre from collected Dublin to delivered Lille. So we multiply €220 by 4.6 loading metres and we get €1012. Then we apply a profit of 20%, gives us a profit of €202.40. So our total charge to the customer is €1,214.40. We're looking at another example now of a sample shipment. This time we have €6 pallets at 175 kilos each, equates to 1050 kilos gross weight, 4 standard pallets at 235 kilos each equates to 940 kilos gross weight. Pallets cannot be double stacked. Shipment is from collected Carlo to delivered Paris, code 93 in France. So €6 pallets equate to 2.4 loading metres. 4 standard pallets equate to 2 loading metres. Total number of loading metres is 4.4. The rate at cost is €250 per loading metre from collected Carlo to delivered Paris. We multiply €250 multiplied by 4.4 loading metres. This gives us €1,100. We'd like to get a profit of 20%, which equates to €220. So the total charge to the customer is €1,320. It's very important that the driver is aware of safety and security at all times. The driver should follow the Road Safety Authority's guidelines. One of these guidelines is the HGV driver walk-around checks that the driver should do on a daily basis. It covers in-cab checks, driving controls, tachograph, warning lights, etc. External checks to make sure that the vehicle is clean, there's no fluid leaks or engine oil or coolant leaks. Lights and indicators are working properly. Mirrors, tyres, wheels, that everything is in good working order. The vehicle anyway is scheduled every 13 weeks for a vehicle health check, and this is done in the garage. And once a year it undergoes a CVR, which is a commercial vehicle roadworthiness test. The driver also has to check the load security, ensure that it is loaded correctly, weight is distributed across axles, not overloaded, restrained, and that it's contained properly. Driver should always inspect vehicle after leaving it unattended or parked overnight, whether or not in a safe area, designated truck park. Ensure that the truck has not been tampered with, that the doors, the curtains, that all the strappings, everything is still intact. And another thing the driver has to be aware about is to check underneath and inside the truck for possible stowaways. Well, that concludes our webinar on road transport. It's been my pleasure, and thank you all very much for your attention. Should you require any additional information or assistance, please contact me, Gráinne, at the IIFA office.